Good evening, everybody. I wish I had some Patron right now. After all these years, I'm still, okay, I'll make the best of it. This is from my second novel, Chasing Sophea. There was a tornado watch issue for the entire state of Texas the day my mama went crazy. Our block on Haven Street was buzzing about the one, rotating its way through Tornado Alley, stirring up all kinds of trouble. Showing out, that's what it was doing. Twisting and twirling like it was mad at somebody. My Aunt Baby said that tornado looked mighty hungry and intended to suck up homes until it was full and satisfied. See, she said, cars and trailer parks are only appetizers. This here tornado craves a 5-course meal. The sky is talking up a storm today, Dahlia, and by the looks of it, we're all getting cursed the hell out. She leaned down and whispered into my ear, "It's a bad one though, baby doll. I can feel it in my bones." The entire house always knew when a storm was brewing because some part of Aunt Baby's body would start aching. And on that day, she announced that all 4 of her corns were screaming bloody murder. I was scared after she said that, and she tried her best to reassure me, calm my nerves. She promised me our house wasn't anywhere near the suck zone, and besides, didn't I know by now that tornadoes skipped over funeral parlors? Tornadoes only like fooling with live people, and we have way too many stiffs up yonder to interest that old twister. So don't worry, baby doll, she cooed. Don't worry. People don't usually name tornadoes, but that year Daddy insisted. Dahlia, darling, he said. Any twister that beautiful and that dangerous can only be female. Reminds me of a woman I used to know named Sophea. He laughed. Sophea, Sophea. His eyes twinkled when that name rolled off his tongue, and his laughter that night was loud, full, and contagious. Aunt Baby opened every window in the house and turned off the electricity after we caught a glimpse of Miss Sophea on the news. She was mesmerizing and terrifying at the same time, and as expected, terrorized trailer parks up and down the Lone Star State. But despite Sophia's petulant disposition, I longed to just run up to her and thrust my hand somewhere deep in the middle, introduce myself, make her acquaintance. To me, she resembled one of those peculiar Van Gogh paintings, except it's flying at you at 150 miles per hour. And all the while you think you comprehend what you're looking at until you're tempted to look a little closer. Anyway, while most of Dallas County was worried about being swept clean to Oklahoma, I was wondering if my mama was going to make it through another day without creating a catastrophe. She did. And now that I think about it, since you were forcing me to remember it, that morning began the same as any other. We had just decorated the house the night before for Christmas. Daddy had to stop twice to go set the features on 2 cases, fix the eyes, cheekbones, basically make the non-viewable viewable. He possessed an extraordinary gift for such thing, restructuring dead people, recreating bone. He could transform just about anybody into someone acceptable to gawk at on a Sunday afternoon. People who weren't even related to the families would come to wake sometimes just to marvel at the artistry of my father's work. He probably should have been a surgeon, although I don't think that would have made his life any easier. You see, the phone never stopped ringing for him as it was. People seemed to be dying a lot that year, dropping like flies, ultimately ending up downstairs in my house cold and stiff, waiting to have their fluids flushed by my father. Oh, I'm sorry. You seem surprised. I can understand that. I mean, who would ever guess how bizarre my upbringing was by just looking at me? And you want to know one of the things I remember the most? The clothes. You wouldn't believe the get-up some people dressed their relatives in after they died. Ridiculous ensembles that would kill the dead all over again if they woke up and saw themselves. Anyway, Daddy was extremely busy that day. There was plenty of prep work to do because there were 5 bodies that had to be bathed, embalmed, and made up. Mercy Blue, the girl in charge of post-life makeovers, was wearing a tight red dress. Red was her favorite color. Go figure. And it was Tuesday, because John Coltrane resonated from every corner of the house. Daddy always listened to Train on Tuesdays. Daddy was in a manageable mood too, because Uncle Brother, that's what we always called him, was back from New Orleans. Daddy didn't like to admit it, but he depended on Uncle Brother to lighten his moods on the days when Mama was having one of her brain tantrums. Aunt Baby was on the other side of town mixing up some concoction for somebody. I can't recall exactly. I just remember that she wasn't there, and if only she had been there. My mother was scurrying from one room to the next like a rat with a cat hot on its tail. She was a blur, a brown blur. You know, she always did that, zipped around from place to place as if her life was getting ready to end, and she just had to complete one last task before her heart stopped beating. Haste was an ongoing obsession with her. Sometimes, I swear, she moved so quickly, she looked like she was gliding on air. Mama swore the earth would swallow her whole if she stood still for any length of time. Really, I'm completely serious. It's confounding, I know. Okay, let me clarify this madness for you. You see, if she was sitting on a chair with her feet up, that would be acceptable, but her legs could never touch the ground for more than a couple of minutes. Clearly, my mother was, shall we say, not playing with the full deck, or was 4 cans short of a 6-pack. How about missing 2 digits in her phone number? Bread was half-baked, elevator didn't rise all the way to the top. You get the picture. She even propped her feet on a stool when she went to the bathroom. That being said, avoiding well-placed stools became something of a military exercise in my house. We used to pretend like they were landmines, ready to blow us to kingdom come if we disturbed them an inch. Jesus, she was crazy. Mama had those stools placed just so because she needed to be able to leap up on one in case the floor started to buckle and suck her ass under. My brother and sister and I navigated around them with extreme caution, but I said that, didn't I already? You have to excuse my redundancy. I was 11. My brother was 7 and my sister was 3, I think. Anyway, my brother Jazz loved trains. He had this LGB train set that Aunt Baby ordered from a Sears catalog. He adored it, and much to everyone's dismay, usually played with it early in the mornings. The sound of the train annoyed me, so I went downstairs to check on Mama. Keeping an eye on Mama was my responsibility since I was the oldest. She looked and sounded almost normal that day, you know, like she used to. Good morning, baby doll. Help me get everybody dressed. I feel like going for a drive this morning. What about the tornado, Mama? You think I'm afraid of a little old tornado? Mama, they said on Channel 8 that Miss Sophea had a big fat core. I'm going to get to see a real live twister. Hush that talk now, you hear? We've got things to do, places to go. She was smiling, and she had combed her hair, and I swear to God, I thought maybe we were going to Swenson's to get ice cream. She used to take me there and allow me to get 2 scoops of lemon custard, even though I always managed to drop the top one on the seat of our car. Jazz, stop fooling around with that train and get dressed. Mama said we're going somewhere. I rushed to get the baby ready. I was so excited at the prospect of having a normal mother again. And outside, Miss Sophea seemed like a distant relative. You know, if I close my eyes, I can still hear Train playing in my head, smooth and melodious. It was in a sentimental mood. Da 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 da. You know, the version he recorded with Duke Ellington. Baby doll, hurry up now, Mama whispered. We have to get out of here. This hell of a house doesn't want to let us go, and it'll die trying to hold us in. I was so giddy about wrapping my tongue around that damn sugar cone that I didn't remember to tell anyone that we were leaving. I didn't tell my father, and I was supposed to. You understand? It was my responsibility. Anyway, it was extremely windy outside, and I remember struggling a little to get into the car. It was a burgundy Mercedes with beige leather interior, and it smelled of strawberries and Chanel No. 5. I remember consoling my baby sister, Livia, because she couldn't quite figure out how to tie her shoes. I remember Uncle Brother running, sprinting out of the front door, and the urgency in his tone yelling for my mother to come back. Reva! Reva, come back here. Reva, do you hear me? Come back. Oh, and Jazz's sweet face. I remember Jazz's sweet face. I remember driving past Swenson's on Parker Avenue and feeling my stomach starting to swirl. I remember thinking that something was terribly wrong, and I remember now how normal Mama looked when she turned around and smiled. "Hey, baby doll," she said, "how about I take y'all to see a real live choo-choo train?"